Good morning, everyone. We're here for the Sunday mindset session at the beautiful Bondi Beach. Got Tony to come all the way down to Brisbane just for today. Actually, he was doing an event yesterday about mindset, about property, and about how to, well, put yourself out there. And that's the topic we're going to talk today about. So everyone that's come on this Sunday morning, we want to work on your mindset. We want to get you ready for that start of the week, get you in a great way, shape or form or mindset to get going. Tony,
absolutely, fantastic.
Good to have you on. Get in there.
Great to be here. It's absolutely sensational. What a gorgeous morning.
Hey, Joe.
Good morning, Joe. Hello. Gorgeous morning here. We're on Bondi. We've just gone for a run. So talk about putting yourself out there. This guy's run 1,223 days, I think it is. I've run one day in a row. I'm still red-faced. Plenty of fun. But I just wanted to say that today is what number episode of Sunday Mindset Session?
Today is 99 weeks in a row of the Sunday Mindset Session. And guess what? You know, just for all the mothers that are out there, we're doing our 100th day on Mother's Day. How good's that going?
That was well planned.
It was very well
way back
planned.
when we started, we said, let's do the 100th in 2021 on Mother's Day. So it's worked out good.
One day at a time, absolutely, Cheryl. Woot woot, yeah, woot woot, woot woot.
But no, it's exciting, mate. It's certainly, it's been a great thrill. Yesterday was great fun. I want to say thank you to you as well. So I've said thank you privately, but certainly thank you publicly for coming along, for doing your bit. We got Luke up on stage and he shared his story, both his personal fitness and running story, but then also his property story as well. And it was really inspiring for those people in the room because people relate to stories. So thank you, mate.
Really good event yesterday. Getting in with like-minded people is super important. We do this obviously on a Facebook Live where you can actually interact with each other, which is really good. But Tony's had a platform yesterday of people all coming together, all associated with property, all want to get to that next level, all want to think about how that they can generate more business, a better life for themselves. And choice came up a lot yesterday.
Choice, happiness, freedom, they're the things that typically come up. So when you dig quite deep as to why you're doing this, then it's the freedom, it's the choice, and ultimately there's the financial side, but it's a whole range of other things because time is the one resource they're not making any more of. So if people have the choice of time, then what a wonderful way to live your life.
Absolutely. And today what we want to talk about is putting yourself out there. Now, there were people in the crowd yesterday that were freely available to put themselves out there, others that hold back. And I think the biggest thing that people ask me, how did you create your property portfolio? Biggest thing for me is actually when I put my hand up and said, I need help.
Yeah, absolutely. Need help, and there's vulnerability in asking for help. And how often do people go to events or they may be sitting there watching others and they've got a question but they're too fearful of asking, and they're too fearful of asking because they're worried about being criticised or ostracised for asking something different. Maybe people will say, it's a stupid question, don't you know that? All these stories go on as opposed to you lent into it and you said, I'm going to ask a question, and that was at the start of your journey, and you've obviously keep doing that now, but that's what kicked you off, by asking question, being inquisitive, wanting to know the answers.
There's a lot of things around putting yourself out there, and I think it did take me a little bit of time before. I'd often sit in the back rows and just be quiet and really assess what's going on, assess what the dynamics of the crowd are, assess what I'm learning and what direction I'm heading as well. But when I started actually putting my hand up, it did make a massive difference. So I'd love to know, or we would love to know, how you guys are putting yourself out there. I know, some of the people like Sean, for example, doing a lot of Facebook Lives this year, didn't do so much, and there was a lot of vulnerability for him to do things out there. I know Kamal, we've had interactions around different things in property, in social media as well. Again, putting himself out there around that as well.
Speaking of putting yourself out there, so we often talk about you and your running feats, but how many days in a row have you done a Facebook Live? Do you know that number?
Well, it's more than running, actually. So I started the Facebook Lives about 4 years ago now.
Wow.
I think it was about August in 2017. So I actually had someone that set me a challenge of doing a Facebook Live every day in a month.
Yep.
And then I thought, I always, someone gives me a challenge,
kick it up to the next
and then
level.
I kick it up to the next level. I don't know what is inside me to be able to do that. Or I was like, okay, someone give me a challenge. That's not good enough. I'm going to go to the next level. So it ended up being a year, and then it just kept flowing through. And look, the attention and awareness that it does get is amazing, because I went to Tony's event yesterday, and I think there was like more than half the crowd that came up to me and was like, they already know me not by face-to-face interaction, but through social media. And it's like, yeah, I've been watching you. And it's like, well, never had a comment from you, never had any likes or anything like that from you. But hey, they know me so well, yet I haven't met them before. So it's amazing what you can actually achieve by just putting yourself out there.
Yeah, and I look back at, you've shared your first videos. I think you shared it about 6 months ago. I remember commenting to you that, you know, when your first video was a bit clunky and you didn't get your words come out and all those types of things.
Well, Cheryl said that yesterday too about her first videos as well.
And that's the thing, right? And mine were absolutely shocking, but it's a case of, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And
Progress,
you've got to get started.
Progress.
We talked yesterday about, getting on the field, playing the game. That's where the true growth happens. And so you've got to get started. So for those of you who are sitting at home, worried about putting yourself out there, worried that you're not going to say the right things, worried you're going to make mistakes, whatever it might be, then it's simply a case of get started. I make mistakes all the time. I made a few this morning, and I made plenty yesterday, and I'll continue to make them. But it's a case of just put yourself out there, grow.
Well,
learn,
how much are we putting ourselves out here right now? We're on a bit of a platform here, and then looking over Bondi Beach. There's people doing their morning walks. We're opposite the Speedos Cafe, for those that know it, in Bondi Beach, and or North Bondi, I should say.
Yeah.
And look, there's a lot of activity going on around. People are having their coffees and breakfast, watching us right in front of the beach area here. So this is a place that we are putting ourselves out there. We could easily be doing it in a quiet street or something like that, but for us, we want to practice what we preach,
100%,
right?
100%.
We are all about progress over perfection. I know you say that a lot, Tony.
Yeah, I do. And that was the case for me yesterday. So yesterday was the first time I've run that type of event on my own. I've done it with Rob previously. The first time on my own yesterday. And so that was me putting myself out there. And to be honest, I was sharing with Luke the story where I sat with it for about a month. So even though I go and teach people mindset, it doesn't mean that I don't have my own frailties and things that I need to work on. And I sat with it for a month and I challenged myself on it, and in the end I bit the bullet and said let's do it. And then yesterday was the culmination of all of that. But
that's okay. It seems like it's okay. Like you didn't do that straight away. You sat on it. You thought how it's going to work for others, how it's going to work for you. And I think that is powerful. We don't have to make decisions straight away, and for us to allow for things to happen. And I think that all resulted out of someone approaching you.
It did.
So you sat back, and then all of a sudden the world started talking to you. So we got Tony Gallagher just turning up for the session as well. So good to see him out and about.
And it's amazing once you commit. So once you book a venue, you book a flight, etc. It's amazing when you commit to something, then all of a sudden the mind does funny things, right? So sat on it, kicked the can down the road, challenged myself on it, committed, bam, and then it just flowed.
Why don't we get into the topics today, Tony? And we are talking today about putting yourself out there. So I'd love to hear from everyone how you've put yourself out there. Now, recently or in the past. I know there's a couple of people at the event that have come on this morning to listen to this live. Let us know how you're putting yourself out there. So the first thought, you might be a bit of an introvert. You might be a little bit shy. You might be someone who's just starting out, just learning. So it will be a challenge, is our first item that we want to talk about. There is a lot of vulnerability. It is scary. This stuff is scary. Doing my first Facebook Live and getting the criticism and watching back about our terrible public speaking that we had at that time is it's hard to watch, really. And it is a big one for us to realize. And we just encourage people to do this more. Flow as the go, says Hayden.
Look, it is hard to watch in one regard, but it's also, I say to people that you look back for three reasons, but one of them is you look back to see how far you've come.
Yeah.
And you look back and you go, holy wow, like that is just amazing that I put myself out there, I started, I was clunky, I was scared, as you said, filled with fear, anxiety, and I did it, and I did it, and I did it, and I did it. Believe it or not, you touched on the word introvert. You aware that I'm an introvert? I've shared that with you. Yeah, so I'm an introvert, right? And so for me, the first time that I spoke, albeit a long, long time ago, I was shitting myself, and I still go through a process mentally before I go on stage. So even
it's kind of like the run this morning.
Oh my gosh.
Different kind of shitting yourself.
I'm still red-faced, right? Still from the run. We stopped running over, an hour and a half ago.
Anyway, go back to the topic, yeah?
No, so it's a case of I go through a practice for myself before I go on stage, and I said it yesterday. Fear and excitement are the same physiologically. So when you're fearful, you get sweaty under the arms, your heart rate rises, you get a shortness of breath, and you think about when you get excited, the same physiological things happen. And so I say to myself, and I've done this for years, I'm excited, I'm excited, I'm excited, I'm excited. So I change the meaning. We talked about changing the meaning yesterday. So I could sit there and say, hey, how fearful I am. And of course, what you think about expands. But I tell myself, I'm excited, I'm excited, I'm excited. I get myself pumped up, and then away I go. So that's a little hack that I used, and I shared that with everybody yesterday.
That's a really good one. Like, I like the energy within me, and I know I spoke on stage yesterday. I was actually nervous before I got up and there, but I know the physiological warm up for me is actually, making movement. So to actually get out of my head into my heart, and when we're public speaking, is actually I should kind of run on the spot or do some star jumps to get the body going. And I know on my Facebook Lives I do a bit of a dance.
I was just going to say that exact point. People who look at you doing your Facebook Lives regularly, they might think, oh my gosh, what's this crazy dancing guy? But and we've talked about this before, you do it very deliberately, for a couple of reasons. One is that it creates awareness in a feed, but two is that it gets you going physiologically, so then you can get out and deliver the message that you want to. So actually, you should have come on next time we do it, mate. We'll get you on stage. You can do a dance.
Yeah, I'll get everyone up for a dance.
There you go. We'll do a bit of a dance.
Sean says hard to watch the first ones. Yes, it's hard to watch, but we, like Tony said, great to reflect on what's going on and how far you've come as well. Progress over perfection.
Yeah.
Perfection came up a little bit yesterday as well.
Yeah.
We're not going to touch on that topic today because that's a whole nother idea. Kelly says, love the dance, Luke. Yeah, absolutely love it too. Hayden says, I'm a big fan of sitting back. Oh, I love the fans. Love the fans.
Good morning.
Good morning. Big fan of sitting back, watching, assessing and moving the way you best feel about within yourself, and that's an important one as well. So it's really good to have these sort of comments coming through.
It's also the approach you take to things. So, for example, I like to review what I've done so I can challenge myself to be better. I have a little saying to myself that is, I want to be better today than yesterday, and tomorrow I want to be better than today. And I'm constant, and again, it's that whole progression thing, right? If I'm better by that much tomorrow versus today, then I have progress. And so I like to look back on things occasionally and review and challenge myself and pick up on when I've said ums and ahs and maybe use different language that I'd like to change, different hands. I know you ever go at me about my hands all the time, but
I used my hands a lot yesterday actually.
But
I was looking at the video.
It's constantly about challenging yourself, going, okay, I want to improve. Right? I always want to be better tomorrow than I am today.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the second topic. Where are we at, Tony, with that?
We're at how do you feel when others show vulnerability?
Yeah, I guess it's a reflection of... so we had a couple of people actually up there, and one girl, Susie, big shout out to Susie, an impressive performance yesterday.
Yeah, very much so.
So it's kind of like she was on stage doing a sing and dance.
Yeah.
So it was great to see her kind of activity out there. But first of all, she said, I'm really nervous. And then she changed that straight away to me. I'm nervous and excited.
Yep.
So with the work that Tony did with her just in that first minute, and then she got up on stage and then she freed flow through that. So it was amazing to say that nervousness changed into excitement. And then you see people out there putting themselves out there on the stage. That gave other people from the audience the ability to go, okay, that's quite easy now. I've seen not only Tony or Luke or Sunil get up on stage and speak, but we've got someone from the audience being vulnerable enough to do it themselves, so I'm going to do it too.
Yeah.
So learning off other people and seeing the Rogers, we talked about it yesterday, the beliefs, right? The Roger Bannister effect.
Yep.
Tony, you love talking about this. Let's share with the audience again.
Well, what it all is that Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile in 1956, which is amazing, and it was a feat that they didn't think could be done. And I'm going to give it to you quickly, but he did it, right? He did it, this thing. Then from there, 1 month after that, an Aussie, John Landy, broke the 4-minute mile, and the year after that, the first 3 place getters in a 1-mile race all broke the 4-minute mile from an event that no one thought was possible. One person did it, another did it, and then the floodgates opened, and that's what it's all about. And it came up, people would share their story, and others in the crowd would go, oh my gosh, if that person can do it, why can't I? And it happens all the time. From a vulnerability point of view, we got a number of people up on stage. We kept bringing them up on stage to challenge them. One of the things about putting yourself out there, I just want to talk about public speaking or Facebook Lives, etc., is that where people get caught up is they focus inwardly. So when you focus inwardly, you worry about how does my hair look, how do I sound, how do I look, etc. When you focus on, I have something powerful to share to one other person, Now all of a sudden you've changed the meaning. Does that make sense? Because now I'm focusing outwardly and externally. I'm not focusing on me and what's going on in my head. So it's about take the emphasis off me and put it on the people that I'm talking to. And that's another little hack that I have taught myself as well, whether it be doing these types of things or speaking publicly.
Absolutely. Kelly said, always tell my friends' kids, progress is better than perfection. Tony, well done for getting out there and speak on stage yesterday. Proud of you both, Tony and Luke.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Kelly.
Thank you.
And Sean, I've noticed the more people use their hands whilst talking, the more themselves they are. Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, I think I think Sean's point there is just be yourself. And if
sure. And I think sometimes it is a little bit of an awkward thing. Like you're actually using your hands to, I don't know, create some space or to enhance what's going on as well. So, it's a big one for all of us to be. But I think the big thing about vulnerability is if you are feeling a little bit uncomfortable about a situation that you potentially want to put yourself out there for, then look to someone who is doing it. Maybe not look to the extent of a prime minister or a president or a celebrity out there, but who in your circle is actually putting themselves out there.
Well, it's also about look at it from an inspirational point of view. We talked about this yesterday, right? So look at it from an inspirational point of view, not from a comparative point of view. So quite often when people look at comparisons and they'll see someone who's further down the road than they are, and I said it about your story, Luke was able to share his story around his running and his property, and I made the very deliberate point of look at that from an inspirational point of view, like be inspired by what Luke did, be inspired by how he started. Don't compare yourself to a guy who's done 1,200 runs, compare yourself to the guy who started, some 3 years ago and what he went through. That's important. Look at it inspirationally.